Hello there, good evening and a very warm welcome to all of you here on the Monday edition of the News Tonight here on Sabha TV. I'm Tracy Shilshi, and in the next 30 minutes I'll be taking you through the day's top stories from India and across the world. But first, the headlines. Hostile words from across the border again. Amid ceasefire violations, Pakistani Army Chief calls Kashmir unfinished agenda of partition, warns about the unbearable costs of war. China-driven volatility continues to take Indian markets down. Sensex slips below the psychological 25,000 mark for the first time in 15 months. The Assam flood situation continues to be critical. Death toll crosses 40 as Brahmaputra flows above the danger mark in many places. 2 Indians are detained for questioning in the Bangkok bombing case. Both were allegedly spotted talking to a suspect. And welcoming thousands of migrants, Germany pledges €6 billion to assist them, but warns it cannot keep up with the influx, while Britain assures it will take in 20,000 Syrian refugees by 2020. For our top story this evening, India and Pakistan may be preparing for the DGMO level talks starting on the 9th of September, but the rhetoric from both sides continuing to escalate. In a veiled warning to India, Pakistan Army Chief General Rahil Sharif has said that his country was ready for all kinds of war, long or short. This after the Union Minister Rajya Singh Rathore reportedly said in an interview that India could neutralize its enemies like Dawood Ibrahim in covert operations. However, Rathore later clarified that he was misquoted.
अफवाज पाकिस्तान तमाम अंदरूनी और बैरूनी चैलेंजेस और खतरात से निपटने की भरपूर सलाहियत रखती हैं.
Pak Army Chief General Rahil Sharif saying his troops are ready to tackle all kinds of threats, whether external or internal. At a special event organized to mark the 50th anniversary of the 1965 war, General Sharif also hinted at his troops' war readiness.
मुझे फख्र है कि मैं जंगी एतबार से दुनिया की सबसे बेहतरीन और तजर्बाकार फौज का कमांडर हूं. इस फौज का दुनिया में कोई सानी नहीं. अफवाज पाकिस्तान तमाम अंदरूनी और बैरूनी चैलेंजेस और खतरात से निपटने की भरपूर सलाहियत रखती हैं, चाहे वो रवायती जंग हो, चाहे गैर रवायती, चाहे हॉट स्टार्ट हो, कोल्ड स्टार्ट, हम तैयार हैं.
The Pak Army Chief also had a warning for India that in case of a war there would be unbearable costs to the enemy.
आज भी हमारी मसल्ह फौज किसी भी किस्म की बैरूनी जारियत का मुकाबला करने की भरपूर सलाहियत रखती हैं. दुश्मन ने अगर कभी भी छोटे या बड़े पैमाने पर जारियत की कोशिश की तो उसे इसकी नाकाबिले बर्दाश्त कीमत अदा करनी पड़ेगी.
General Sharif's remarks are being seen as a response to a statement last week by Indian Army Chief General Darbir Singh Suhag, who said that the Indian Army was prepared for swift, short nature of future wars. General Sharif also referred to Kashmir as the unfinished agenda of partition. But his warning that Kashmir cannot be put on the back burner came amid an 8th day of ceasefire violations in Jammu and Kashmir this month alone. Pakistani troops pounded forward posts and civilian areas in Poonch district along the line of control, forcing the Indian Army to retaliate. Pakistan Rangers fired mortar shells, rocket projectile grenades and used automatic weapons to target the forward posts. 7 civilians were injured in the firing while 1 person died. But General Sharif's remarks did not go down too well with India, with Minister of State and the PMO Jitendra Singh saying that the only issue pending about Kashmir was Pakistan's illegal occupation of some parts of the state.
कोई विषय जम्मू कश्मीर को लेकर के है पाकिस्तान के साथ, तो वो मात्र इतना कि पाक अधिकृत जम्मू कश्मीर का हिस्सा किस प्रकार पुनः भारत में शामिल किया जा सके, अर्थात वो हिस्सा जो 65-66 वर्षों के बाद भी प्रदेश जम्मू कश्मीर का भाग होने के बावजूद भी पाकिस्तान के गैर कानूनी कब्जे में है, उसे किस प्रकार गैर कानूनी कब्जे से छुड़ा करके भारत में पुनः शामिल किया जाए।
Politicians also slammed General Rahil Sharif over his provocative remarks, saying it showed Pakistan's immaturity. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, for more on this story, we're joined by Dr. Matthew Joseph, who's the Associate Professor at the Academy of International Studies at the Jamia Millia Islamia. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us on this story. Just talking about both the army chiefs, of course, when they do speak to their troops, this is the kind of language that army chiefs, of course, use. But looking at the current scenario between the neighbors, is this perhaps the lowest that we've seen in relations in the past few years between India and Pakistan?
See, right now what is happening in the line of control is the most deplorable thing. Pakistan is provoking, and then there is a lot of shelling, all kinds of things are happening in the LOC, and as we have noticed, one person has already been killed. There are several incidents of ceasefire violations. Our forces are basically retaining a kind of patience, and then we are, right now we are also decided that we are not going to tolerate this any longer. And today's assertion on the part of Pakistan Army Chief, again interesting, in 1965 war, even Pakistani historian like Akbar Saidi is saying very clearly that we have been defeated. It's clear. So our history books are saying the other way around, but Pakistan Army has been completely defeated in 1965 war. And interestingly, they are celebrating their so-called victory of 1965 war. In this kind of a situation, he has to say this because there is nothing else he can say. So this is an effort on the part of Pakistan Army to provoke, because the civilian government is not saying anything. Prime Minister is not saying anything. So now the thing is very clear. The division within Pakistan establishment is very clear, that the army, the military establishment, the deep state has taken control of the diplomacy between India and Pakistan. That is very clear by the rhetorical statement of Pakistan Army Chief Rahil Sharif. This will actually create a downslide in India-Pakistan relationship. It is not going to help the building of peace or kind of more tranquil atmosphere in the line of control.
In this atmosphere then, is it of any point then to have those DGMO level talks that are to start on the 9th of September?
Because they don't want that to happen. That is why precisely they are saying all these kinds of things. As you know, NSA level talks, just before that they made very clear kind of, demands which was not acceptable to India at that point of time.
Yes.
Then the talks was collapsed. Similarly, now this kind of a rhetoric will not allow India to proceed further. So their game plan is very clear. Pakistan Army doesn't want any kind of interaction with India at the moment. That will consolidate their position within their system. And the Islamist fringe within the civil society also will be happy, because the nexus between Pakistan Army and the Islamist fringe will be in a position to hegemonize the civil society and Pakistani opinion with regard relationship with India. So thereby they are able to sideline, they will be able to sideline the civilian leadership, a democratic space which is emerging over a period of time, and that is dangerous. This kind of a situation is very dangerous for entire South Asia.
Absolutely. And on a diplomatic level, how tough is it for the governments, respective governments for India and Pakistan? Especially in the global scenario, when they meet, in a global scenario, where they'll be meeting, of course, they perhaps won't be meeting as per, but, they could be crossing ways and, they're going to be part of a larger group when they meet at the UN congregation later this month.
Yes, but right now what happened in Pakistan is that the civilian government has been completely sidelined. Civilian government is not able to make any kind of policy pronouncements at this point of time. So they are very silent, and the army has already taken over, in the sense that in the way they're speaking like, we are prepared for a war. So now suddenly they are talking about war, big or small war, and you will be having maximum damage if you enter into a conflict with Pakistan. This is a clearly provocative statement. With this, India will not be in a position to talk further. The tragedy is that, we somehow our policymakers are also played into their hands, because this is exactly what Pakistan Army wanted.
Yes.
They don't want a kind of engagement with India. Actually, there should be an engagement between the civilian establishment
Yes.
and the Indian establishment, so that the army will not get much operational space within the system. Because interestingly, in the last 7-8 years, we have noticed in Pakistani politics, army has been sidelined to a considerable extent.
Yes.
Their operational space within the system has been, to an extent,
Reduced to
narrowed
that.
down,
Yes.
reduced. But now they are now planning to take it back through their pet team of India-Pakistan rivalry, and then this kind of very provocative statements, which will at times, sometimes even mobilize Pakistani population also, as Kashmir is a very sensitive issue within Pakistani society.
Absolutely. Dr. Joseph, so what you're saying is that India-Pak relations aside, Pakistan in itself also dealing with a lot of hostility from within the army and the civilian government as well. We leave it at there for the moment. Thanks so much for joining us on this big story of ours.
Thank you.
With that, let's head on to the other big story we're tracking, and this, of course, coming in from Mumbai. The slump in the stock markets resumed on Monday, with the Sensex slipping below the psychological 25,000 mark for the first time in 15 months. The fall today is being attributed to weakness in the rupee. The Indian currency declined 36 paise to hit a new two-year low of 66 rupees 82 paise per dollar. The rupee has been trading around two-year lows for some weeks now. Meanwhile, Chinese stocks also plunged over 3%, contributing to weakness in the domestic markets. Sensex lost over 300 points, while Nifty traded nearly 100 points down. Concerns about a rate hike in the US as early as next week have also led to selling by foreign investors.
जिस तरीके से देखिए ग्लोबल वोलेटिलिटी है, जिस तरीके से भारतीय बाजारों में वोलेटिलिटी आज सुबह से देखने को मिल रही है, ये ट्रेडर्स मार्केट नहीं है। ट्रेडिंग के लिए अगर कोई आदमी आ रहा है शॉर्ट टर्म के लिए, तो पैसा देने के चांसेस ज़्यादा हैं, पैसा कमाने के चांसेस कम है। मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि ये एक निवेश का मौका है, लेकिन लंबी अवधि का नजरिया बनाना चाहिए। अपने पैसे को निवेश करना चाहिए, बोरोड फंड को मार्केट में नहीं लगाना चाहिए।
We are passing through really some bad phase. Like world or China and Europe are in big trouble. US is facing a rise in expected rise in interest rates. So, and apart from that, our country, we have seen the economic activity is not picking up. The results last quarter results were of the corporates were not up to the mark and were much below the expectations.
And now let's turn our focus to the flood situation in Assam, which continues to be critical. 5 more people have died, taking the toll to 41 now. There's no let-up in the situation, with the river Brahmaputra now flowing above the danger mark at many areas. An estimated 18 lakh people have been reeling under flood waters in nearly 1,900 villages across the state. Dhubri is the worst affected district, with nearly 4.5 lakh affected people. The state government has set up 270 relief camps to provide shelter to victims, and the State Disaster Management Authority is saying that nearly 1.1 lakh hectares of cropland is also under water currently. In other national news, applauding Indian scientists for making the nation proud, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday said that India had established itself as a prominent player in the field of space technology. Here's more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressing an audience of over 1,500 delegates in bringing space technology closer to Indians through everyday governance.
टेक्नोलॉजी का सर्वाधिक लाभ कम से कम खर्च में हो सके उतनी सरलता से गरीब से गरीब व्यक्ति को पहुंचे कैसे, यही हमारी सबसे बड़ी चुनौती है.
The Prime Minister said each state and all ministries should start thinking about using space technology by the end of the year. He said science students should be given priority in all departments.
हम जब रिक्रूटमेंट करें हमारे नए लोगों को, तो रिक्रूटमेंट करके भी इस प्रकार के विज्ञान से जुड़े हुए स्टूडेंट को ज़्यादा लें, ताकि हमें कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग के लिए सुविधा रही. हमारे यहाँ पूछा जाए डिपार्टमेंट कि भाई हमारे डिपार्टमेंट में कितने लोग हैं जिनकी इस चीज़ों में रुचि है, तो फिर इनको 7 दिन 10 दिन का एक कोर्स करवाया जा सकता है. अगर हम इस व्यवस्था को करें तो ह्यूमन रिसोर्स डेवलपमेंट अगर हो गया तो इंस्टीट्यूशनल कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग अपने आप आना शुरू हो जाएगा.
Speakers, who included officials from the centre, the states and ISRO, spoke about collaborative research and the use of technology in governance. Secretaries of central ministries presented joint action plans on enhancing functional effectiveness, planning and decision-making. with inputs from Akhilesh Suman. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
A day before the Congress Working Committee meeting, party's Vice President Rahul Gandhi held consultations with the Congress legislative party leaders from states where it is in opposition. The CWC meet is expected to chalk party strategy in such states in the coming days. It's also expected to discuss ways to counter the Modi government on a number of issues.
A day before the meeting of the party's highest decision-making body, CWC, to finalize its strategy to take on the NDA government, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi held a closed-door meeting with several CLP leaders of the party in the national capital. The leaders of Congress Legislative Party in the states where the party is not in power are understood to have apprised Rahul of prominent issues in their respective states and the strategy to be adopted by the party to highlight them.
पॉलिसीज पे डिस्कशन हुई है दैट आई एम नॉट एट लिबर्टी टू टेल। बिहार को लेकर भी कोई चर्चा हुई? देखिए साहब, कोई देर वाज नॉट, दिस वाज ओनली रिलेटेड टू पॉलिसीज ऑफ द कांग्रेस पार्टी। थैंक यू।
The CWC meeting is being held just days after the NDA government allowed the ordinance on land bill to lapse in the face of stiff resistance from several quarters, including the opposition led by Congress. Sources say the issues of amendments to the party constitution for reducing the term of its national president and organizational elections are also expected to be discussed. Congress President Sonia Gandhi's term is coming to an end in December this year. The chorus for promoting Rahul to the post of president has been gaining momentum for quite some time. This is Vishal Daya's report for Rajya Sabha TV, Delhi.
With that, let's get you more updates from across the country and nationwide. The Supreme Court has ruled out judicial intervention to end the FTII logjam. It has rejected a plea to direct the Maharashtra government to provide security to students who want to attend classes. The students have been on the past 3 months over demands to remove Gajendra Chauhan as the chairman of the institute. They claim that he lacks credentials and vision to head the prestigious film institution. The Interpol has questioned the Enforcement Directorate on why it sought a red corner notice against former IPL Commissioner Lalit Modi. He is facing a probe for his alleged role in money laundering and irregularities in the IPL. Red corner notices, remember, are an international lookout notice for fugitives. Interpol is expected to take a decision on Lalit Modi later in the month. An uneasy calm continues in Churachandpur district of Manipur, where clashes broke out last week between local tribals and police, killing 8 people. In fact, the death toll went up by 9 today, with a man succumbing to burn injuries. Tribals have been protesting against the passage of 3 bills in the Manipur Assembly to protect the indigenous people of the state. A special court allowed the NIA's plea seeking its permission to conduct polygraph test on suspected Lashkar operative Ahmed Bhatt, arrested in connection with the Udhampur terror attack case. While allowing NIA's plea, the court said that Bhatt's polygraph test will be conducted at the Central Forensic Science Laboratory in the national capital on Tuesday. With that, a quick break here. Up next, we're getting you all the updates from the US Open. Sania Mirza and Martina Hingis make it to the quarterfinals of the women's doubles. Details ahead.
Government decides on one rank, one pension. Culmination of a 40-year wait for veterans and war widows. Where does the government give in? Where does it not? And why aren't the veterans satisfied? Watch the big picture at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Now, a special report on the Indian Navy and the Royal Australian Navy will hold their first ever joint maritime exercise together. The exercise is called AUSINDEX and will be held in mid-September off India's Visakhapatnam port in the Bay of Bengal.
Against the backdrop of a growing Chinese presence in the Indian Ocean, India and Australia are all set to undertake their first naval exercise, the AUSINDEX. The exercise will focus on anti-submarine warfare to counter China's nuclear-powered submarines.
It's not the first time that we are having exercises with Australia? Definitely not. We have had complex exercises with them. But this is the first time a name has been given, a formalized structure has been admitted to, and that was required because Australia is a big power in the Indian Ocean.
The Oz Index is an indication of the expanding defence engagement between Australia and India, seen in Australia sending Lockheed Martin's P-3 anti-submarine reconnaissance aircraft, a Collins-class submarine, a tanker and frigates. On its part, India is deploying assets that include Boeing's P-8 long-range anti-submarine aircraft and a locally manufactured corvette. The exercise will have both sea and shore phases, tabletop exercises, scenario planning, and at-sea, surface and anti-submarine warfare.
India and Australia had what might be described as a fairly strong relationship till the nuclear tests of 1998. Subsequently, there was a certain estrangement, and in recent years, both sides have made a very earnest attempt, I think, to improve the texture of the relationship and impart content into it. And this particular naval exercise is an indicator, I would say, of that political resolve.
While Canberra and New Delhi have taken part in multilateral exercises in Malabar in 2007 and Milan in 2012, AUSINDEX is the first bilateral engagement between the two countries. Palak Sharma's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
International news, and 2 Indians were taken into custody for questioning by Thai police after they were seen on CCTVs talking to a foreign suspect wanted in the Bangkok blast case. The 2 Indians were released shortly after they were taken to a military camp for questioning. They were allegedly staying in the room next to the one where the police found bomb-making materials. The centre has asked its embassy in Thailand to find out details on the detention and file a detailed report. Thai police is closely combing areas in search of people behind the 17th August bomb blast at the popular Erawan Brahma Shrine, which killed 20 people and injured more than 100 others. Police so far have issued arrest warrants for 10 suspects in connection with the case. 2 foreign suspects have been arrested. One of them was carrying a Chinese passport. On to the latest in the migrant crisis, and Britain's Prime Minister has assured that they will take up to 20,000 Syrian refugees within the next 5 years. This comes as Germany pledged €6 billion as aid to refugees and asked other European nations to follow suit. But Germany and Austria have warned that they cannot keep up with the influx and said that they must begin to slow the pace.
Not only opening its doors to the migrants, Germany's coalition government is digging deep into its coffers as well, pledging to spend €6 billion to support the refugee influx. €3 billion will go to the federal states and municipalities, and an additional €3 billion will help cope with the inflow. Other measures will include speeding up asylum procedures, facilitating shelters, replacing cash allowances with benefits in kind. The agreement includes a list of safe nations, meaning asylum seekers from those nations can be deported more rapidly. Kosovo, Albania, and Montenegro were added to the list. It also stressed for a fair distribution of refugees between European Union states. France has agreed to accept 24,000 refugees under the European Commission plan.
La France, elle est disposée à prendre sa part. La Commission européenne propose ou va proposer de répartir 120 000 réfugiés sur les 2 prochaines années, ce qui représentera pour la France 24 000 personnes.
Wir brauchen hier auch eine Kraftanstrengung der Europäischen Union. Nur mit gemeinsamer europäischer Solidarität werden wir diesen Kraftakt meistern.
Wir Deutschen haben ein großes Interesse daran, diese offenen Grenzen zu erhalten. Aber jeder muss wissen, dass auf Dauer, wenn es sich immer nur auf 3 Länder konzentriert, die Debatte ganz schnell eine andere werden wird.
But Merkel's decision to waive off EU rules and allow thousands to find a new home in Germany has caused a rift within. Critics have accused Merkel of creating a dangerous precedent. Hungary has emerged as one of the main flashpoints of the crisis, being the primary gateway for migrants traveling into the European Union.
Ich will hier noch einmal betonen, dass trotz der Entscheidungen am Wochenende Dublin III gilt. Ich habe darüber auch mit dem ungarischen Ministerpräsidenten gesprochen. Und Dublin III gilt für alle Mitgliedstaaten der Europäischen Union.
18,000 migrants have arrived in Germany and Austria so far. Germany says its borders are open for more and wants wants other European states to do the same. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's turn our focus to sports. And day 7 at the US Open passed without any major shock defeats as top seeds advanced to the quarterfinals. Of course, Novak Djokovic and defending champion Marin Cilic had to toil hard for their victories. In the women's singles, top seed Serena Williams has set up a quarterfinal clash with her elder sister Venus. Meanwhile, Indo-Swiss pair of Sania Mirza and Martina Hingis have also reached the quarterfinals in the women's doubles. Here's a report.
Men's top seed Novak Djokovic was pushed hard by his Spanish opponent Roberto Bautista Agut in the 4th round at the US Open. The Spaniard came back after losing the first set to take the second from being 4-2 down. The Serb, however, regained his composure and took the next 2 sets to win the match and reach his 26th consecutive Grand Slam quarterfinal.
He made me work for every point. You know, I had to get into the rallies. It was not easy. Obviously, I got a lot of returns back. Not many free points from the serve, but again, it's a great win over 3 hours, and I enjoyed this night session, definitely.
Defending champion Marin Cilic also advanced to the quarterfinals after a hard-fought win over Frenchman Jeremy Chardy. The Croatian won in 4 sets and will next play another Frenchman, Jo-Wilfried Tsonga. In women's singles, 21 times Grand Slam winner Serena Williams continued her pursuit of a calendar year Grand Slam after beating fellow American Madison Keys in straight sets. The victory sets her up for a quarterfinal clash with her elder sister Venus. Having already won 3 Grand Slams this year, Serena is aiming to become only the 4th woman in history to win all the Grand Slam in the same year.
I don't feel any pressure. It's, you know, I wanted that Serena Slam. Winning 4 in a row at Wimbledon was amazing. And now I have a chance to go for it here, a 5 in a row actually, but just in front of this New York crowd is great.
In women's doubles, Sania Mirza and her Swiss partner Martina Hingis stayed on course for a 2nd Grand Slam after a 6-3, 6-0 victory over Michela Krajicek and Barbara Stakova. The pair will play 9-seeded Chinese Taipei duo of Yuan Zhan Chan and Hao Qing in the quarterfinal. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you some more sports updates in Sports Beat. Italy moved closer to qualifying for the 2016 European Championship after beating Bulgaria 1-0 to top Group H. Daniel De Rossi scored with a retaken penalty in the 6th minute for Italy after Veselin Minev tripped Antonio Candreva. In fact, Italy now sit 2 points ahead of Norway and 3 ahead of Croatia, with 2 qualifiers away to Azerbaijan and at home to Norway remaining. Iceland and Czech Republic qualified for the Euro 2016 Championship as well. It was the first time that Iceland secured a berth after a goalless draw with Kazakhstan. Iceland only needed a point to finish on top in Group A. The Czechs sealed their place meanwhile by beating Latvia 2-1. Portugal and Albania are all set to play each other for the UEFA European Cup qualification. Portugal currently top the group with 12 points with only a 1-point lead over Denmark. The Portuguese have a game in hand, having only played 5 matches so far. Albania hold the playoff spot in the competition as they are 3rd in the group. Their place seems secure as they hold a 10-point lead over Serbia and Armenia, who are in the bottom teams. And that's all we have for you on the news tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.